Hello and welcome to the Federal Bureau of Control. Am I looping? Spiraling? Caught on a winding road? Ahem. Well, either way, my name is Mina and this is Circuit Court Entertainment, where we discuss how laws and history affect all forms of media. And today we're going back to some Alan Wake stuff. For the most part, no spoilers, but I will need to discuss some of the DLC and I will alert when we get there. Let's get started. But to be more specific, I am actually discussing the artist Poe. Poe, real name Anne Decatur Danilewski, is a singer. She started in 1994 and in 1996 was named by the New York Times as a rising star. And then she disappeared. She had released one album, Hello, in 1995 and was the opening act for some tours, most notably Lenny Kravitz, before doing her own tours, mostly at venues like music festivals. Her single, Angry Johnny, went on to number 25 on the top rock songs of 1996, and she continued to release singles such as Hello and Trigger Happy Jack, which did well on MTV and several Billboard subcharts such as dance and alternative rock respectively. Important for our story, she was signed with Atlantic Records. She hit pause on touring to work on her next studio album, Haunted, which released in 2000, and her company re-signed her for 3 more albums. And then it all fell apart. If you are keeping an eye on these dates, you may know what's coming. The merger of AOL and Time Warner and the subsequent .com bubble burst. I am absolutely not going over every single Time Warner merger. Just dear cosmos. We're going to say, starting in the 60s, they started to buy companies, mostly media and music companies like Atlantic. Then in the 80s, Warner Brothers and Time Inc. merged and thought that would always solve all their problems all the time. So they proceeded to buy out or merge with many, many, many other companies. If you glance at how people feel about Warner Brothers now, like today when I'm writing this, when they are selling Sesame Street, you have an idea on how this played out. It didn't work. The first crater is the 2000s when AOL bought Time Warner and then the .com bubble burst. So to explain that, I need to explain the .com bubble. I don't have a huge background in finances, so going from other sources, this is what I've pieced together. Also, as a reminder, I have sources for my episodes. You can check them yourself. Starting in the late 90s, computers began to be widely available to middle-class families. Those computers that had internet capabilities often came with pre-installed web browsers. Naturally, shenanigans followed. See Docket 16 for some web-based antitrust action. And because of this increase in the World Wide Web usage, things were made to fill that need. So websites or internet companies were made, went public on the stock exchange, and money rolled in, until investors started asking what the business model actually was. After that, the investments stopped. While some companies, like Amazon and eBay, made it out okay, enough did not that even those successful companies ran into trouble. And well, like I said, AOL was an internet company. Yet Warner Brothers immediately had financial issues, which continue to this day. Faced with some not great choices, they sold their music business and canceled all of their contracts. This left artists like Poe in a lurch. She had CDs they would sell, but there was no more promotion on them on Warner's end. Haunted had sold well enough, even with just one single released, but they had no legal obligation to promote it, especially since it wouldn't make them money. Because a company Atlantic worked with, another company called Modern/FEI, did. What happened was this. Atlantic made a deal to promote several FEI artists, such as Poe. They would handle various promotions, printings, etc., and in turn would receive what seems to be part of the sales. All fine and good. Except when Atlantic was sold and the deals were nullified, that meant Atlantic would pay for all this promotion and printing, but received no money. So Poe was left in a lurch. But that wasn't exactly the issue. Upon being left in the lurch by the .com bubble bursting, Poe contacted her fiancé's father, Robert M. Edsel, who had a law firm and an interest in Nazis stealing art in World War II. He suggested she hire one of his lawyers and in turn sever ties with their other music contacts so things would run through him and the lawyer he suggested. With all the contract upheaval, they felt like she could get a tidy sum as compensation in the next 6 months. She had a lot of unpaid debt from, well, everything, along with a certain quality of life expectation due to her family's connections, so she agreed. Everything would run through him, she'd cut her ties, and, well, things were absolutely not wrapped up. It's a bit complicated what happened, but we have a decent idea after she sued him in 2005. By doing this contract, Edsel and the lawyer were operating as a talent agency, which they were completely unlicensed to do. Also, the compensation money never came. With the masters being held and CDs not promoted and Edsel not getting her gigs, she had no real income, so Edsel was there loaning her money. But this ended up being a kind of spiral. It all just looped and looped until she finally sued. While it was mostly found out in her favor, she still had to pay and things were tied up for years. She did a handful of charity gigs, but was still unable to record or release new music under her name. I've seen reports she released stuff under the name Jane, but I could only find one song listing her as featured, and other songs on her Spotify is her doing spoken word additions to one-off songs. And so her career was just stuck. And into this corner comes Alan Wake. More specifically, Alan Wake 1, for now. Alan Wake, which along with its Finnish developer Remedy have been on the show several times, is designed to function like playing through a popular early 2000s mystery-style show Lost. It's ABC's 2004 hit show Lost, structure-wise crossed with Twin Peaks with the other works like House of Leaves thrown in. And one thing Lost and many other shows did at that time was to have a licensed song play as they went to end credits. Lost aired in Finland in 2006, subtitled, so it would still have been airing by the time Alan Wake came out in 2010. And inspired by Lost, Remedy would have licensed songs play at the end of each episode. For episode 2, it was Poe's Haunted, which was written partially with the input of her brother, who wrote House of Leaves. With it being 13 years between Alan Wake 1 and Alan Wake 2, Remedy decided to remaster Alan Wake 1, which meant renegotiating all the licenses after previous issues with the soundtrack. As Poe was finally free to work on music, though nothing was immediately viable, and Remedy was, in turn, commissioning original songs for the chapter endings of Alan Wake 2, they did come to an agreement. Alan Wake 2 was released in 2023 and has 2 campaigns. One is for a new lead named Saga Anderson, and her chapters have unique songs each time. The other campaign covers part of what Alan did for the last 13 years, and he is one song, looped, spiraled, and remixed. This Road, a new composition by Poe. It was her first new piece under her own name in about 20 years, and it is fantastic, but doesn't really end there. Alan Wake 2 also had 2 pieces of downloadable content. The second one, titled The Lake House, released in 2024 and has a side quest tucked away. The FBC, Federal Bureau of Control, over by the game's location of Bright Falls, Washington, has taken to kidnapping artists to figure out why art works the way it does there. I won't go into more detail as it is the theme of the game, and I don't want to get too distracted. Upon completion of the side quest, you can find a letter which goes on to heavily imply that the FBC kidnapped Poe all those years ago. She may even be the same person as the writer of the This House of Dreams blog that pops up every so often in the background of Remedy games, and she literally sang herself out of the FBC to escape. A song called 6 Breaths is played at this point, another new song by Poe. And finally, you can find a link that if you pop it into a browser lets you sign up for info about Poe. A few days ago, it seems like it is also kicking off an ARG, alternate reality game. Finally, Poe had a signing a few days ago in LA, where Sam Lake, lead creative at Remedy, also showed up. It was promoting the This Road single from Alan Wake 2. No new album has been announced at the time of writing, but it is her first single released under her name since 2001's Wild on the Haunted album. Poe's music is good, and I really hope that whatever is going on she gets to sing again. We don't want to lose her on this winding road. Thank you for listening to Circuit Court Entertainment. If you found this episode interesting,
Please tell others as this is a new podcast. Please subscribe and leave a review on all the major podcast services. You can find me on Twitter at CCEPod and Tumblr at Circuit Court Entertainment. This episode was written, edited, and recorded by me, Mina. The script was edited by CJ Peterson. Podcast art by Empress Cirque on Twitter. Thank you for your time, and I hope to hear from you soon.